Recession, here thy come. Hi, I'm John McNeil, and this is the Invest Strong Network. Welcome. So, for the keen or even the not so keen economic observer, this economy clearly appears to be headed towards some kind of recession. Now, technically, the economists will tell you that a recession is basically two consecutive quarters of declining economic activity, roughly 6 months or so. But in reality, anytime the economy shrinks, and for whatever reason, that is a recession. Now, I thought it would be instructive to take a trip down memory lane, look at previous recessions, and see what portends for our immediate future. All right, so let's do exactly that. Okay, recessions are normally caused by a combination of things. Because, see, the bent of economic activity, certainly in the post World War II period in the United States of America, is towards growth. So we have a growing population, and we also have a government and a Federal Reserve which prints enough money, spends on the fiscal side, spends money like crazy, in order to maintain a certain amount of economic growth. And they target between 2 to 3% annual of economic growth with an inflation rate to match that. Now, that would work fine and has worked quite well for us in the post-war period. However, there are periods when the economy will shrink, and sometimes shrink rather dramatically. Well, what will cause this? Usually these things are caused by an imbalance somewhere in the economy. Now, the Great Recession of 2007 to 2009 was basically caused by an imbalance in housing and mortgage prices, right? So you had a housing market that had exploded because the government and banks and other institutions were basically handing out money willy-nilly to everyone. They were going out investing either in their own home or perhaps even speculative investment properties that ran up the cost of property, real estate throughout the country. Then you had persons from other parts of the world that were chiming in, pouring their money into this market that seemed like it could be no lose. And the whole thing became a bubble, collapsed, and drug the economy into a long, deep recession. Now, are we headed for something like that? I don't think so. The imbalances that are in the market, in the economy today, and yes, there absolutely are imbalances, whether it's fuel prices, commodity prices, and some of the other prices. These things are there, but they are nowhere near the outrageous levels of the real estate imbalance of the middle 2000s, right? Now, normally an imbalance in the economy, the economic sphere, is normally combined with a geopolitical shock that pushes the nation into recession. Now, that was certainly the case in the late 1970s, right? So you had the Arab oil embargo and the price of fuel, which was being manipulated by such. That money was going also to help finance the Soviet Union, which was spreading violence and revolution throughout the world. That, in addition to rising inflation and other economic things, pushed the nation into really three recessions in the middle 1970s, the late 1970s, and the early 1980s. And it was a heck of a battle for these successive administrations to bring the economy into stability, defeat the Soviet Union, which was critical, and allow for a stable amount of continuous growth, which we had for a very long time, beginning in the early 1980s and really stretching until the next recession, which was the 1990 to 1991 recession, which was sparked by high fuel prices, which was caused by Saddam's invasion and occupation of Kuwait, and of course the mammoth Desert Storm project that pushed them out. That geopolitical shock was enough to push a fragile economy into a modest recession. As soon as Desert Storm was over, the economy began to grow again, and basically in the United States of America, this growth continued pretty much unabated until the early 2000s, when yet another imbalance began to develop in the economy. This time it was with these dot-com high technology companies that had run to outrageous speculative rates, people pouring their life savings and rent money into these dot-com companies with dreams of striking it rich. And when it all went bad, the economy began to slow dramatically. And then the geopolitical shock of the September 11th attacks basically plunged the country into a fairly deep recession in 2001 to 2002. All right. Now, right now we are in a we're in a very precarious situation. I'll just put it that way. So we're coming out of perhaps the deepest recession that we had really since the Great Depression of the 1930s. And of course, that was caused by the CV-19 pandemic. This time, the government basically forcing the economy to shutter in order to stop the spread of this cataclysmic virus. But we've been on a very aggressive amount of growth since then, right? And of course, you had the government and the Federal Reserve shoveling money to everyone, keeping all businesses and individuals pretty flush until the pandemic could be brought under control. Now, we're actually still kind of grappling with the pandemic, but the crisis has really abated, but you still have all this money out there that had caused imbalances in the economy, in the stock market, crypto markets, other markets. And these imbalances caused inflation, rampant inflation at this point. Now, rising interest rates, which the Federal Reserve has had to utilize to try to bring down inflation. And of course, the icing on the cake, the war in Ukraine and Russia, which is exactly the kind of geopolitical shock that would push a fragile economy right into recession. And that's exactly where we're going. Now, will it be long? Will it be short? How deep will it be? We don't know. Certainly, I don't know. But one thing I can say conclusively is that these recessions really do not go by the numbers, right? So the economists may look at the economy and they see growth, right? Or they may look at the economy and they see things slowing down. But the reality is the psychological impact of recessions linger long beyond the time that the numbers turn around and begin to grow, right? So even if in fact we have a short recession by the numbers, and that enables the Federal Reserve to bring inflation under control, the psychological effect of that recession is going to linger for years. and provide much, much slower growth once the nation finally begins to come out of it. Something to think about. All right, so that's what was on my mind this week, and thought I'd share that with you. A little trip down memory lane looking at recessions. If you appreciate it, please hit that thumbs up button. I beg of you to do it. Please, thumbs up. Also, leave a comment. Let me know what the economy is doing for you, and if you see growth or if you see recession. And of course, subscribe. Come on now. Whether the economy is growing or shrinking, you can subscribe to Invest Strong. Hey, non-inflationary. It's free. All right. I'd appreciate it. Thank you so much, friends, and good blessings.